Hello, it's Dominique. I had made a video tutorial in French recently that was showing different type of files that you can make for your projects, for your albums. And someone asked me to make it in English, so I'm doing it in English right now. So first of all, I want to show you, we're working with envelopes. Okay, any size of envelopes you want. So here I'm working with the Paper Studio, not the big ones. It's like a third. I don't have the box with me. I don't have the, well, I'll measure so that you see the measurements. So I work with 3 different sizes, but this one here I'll be working with the in inches. So that's 5 3/4 by 4 1/4. So those are the envelopes that I work with, and sometimes like on this big file here, the big box file, I have used the larger ones. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I'm going to show you the different types of files. So first of all, here I have an example of just a regular file. Here I put 4 envelopes. They're all even here and even at the bottom. Okay, so that's one here. So that's one type of file, and I'll show you. I'll make you a demonstration how to glue them together so that it expands like this. Very important. So that's one type of file. Here I have another one that is 2 layers of. So I have the shorter ones here and the biggest ones here. So, and they're all even here. The only thing different from this one to this one is that on this one I had cut a little bit off, as you can see. Or because these envelopes, sometimes I use the bigger ones and then I just cut them in 2, so I didn't cut them exactly in the center. So I get one that's longer than the other one, which is perfect. It can be any size you want. It could be 1/4 inch, could be 1/2 inch, an inch, as you wish. So this is another one. This is the 4 envelope one. And also I have this one here that is layered. It's here, right here. So this one here is a file that they're not all even at the bottom. They're all the same size, but they're glued like a little bit lower. So there's a way to glue them together. So you have to put the glue on the top of the second envelope. You're gluing on the first one, and then on the bottom you have to put the glue on the first one so you know exactly where it stops. So that's the way to do it. And this one, as you can see, opens like this, which is really cool, and they're all the same depth. Like I couldn't make the one with all the even at the bottom because this one would be so tiny. It could be doable, but I don't think I'd be doing that. So that's this one is very interesting because you have so many spots to put different things in there. And also I have another one that I have made also. So this is the file box here. So these they're all even here and then down here, but the way they're glued at the bottom is different. So I'm going to demonstrate you how to make the 2 different ones. So here I have glued some envelopes together, so I'll show you. So all you have to do is glue them as if you were putting a letter in the mail. So you just put a fine line here. Don't put it too thick, because if you do, it'll smear and then it'll glue this, the bottom will be glued together. We don't want that. We just want to glue the flap. And then you do that. Another one. There. That's all. So that's easy. Then what you do, you will have to put them all, like I'm going to make 5 of each. So here I have a 5 envelope file that's going to be all even. I'm not doing the different ones. So if you have the big ones and you want to cut them because they're too big, you don't cut in the center. So if you have like 7 1/2, you'll cut one at 3 and then the other one will be 3 1/2. So you have 1/2 inch between the 2 sizes of the envelopes. But here I'll be doing all the same length. Okay, so after you've done that, I suggest that you have the seam. What I call the seam is where you glue the flap on the bottom. So you make sure they're all at the bottom of the pack that you're holding, and you have to keep them always on the same side, because if you switch them like this, then if you open this side, you'll get to see the seams of the envelope inside when you open it and look inside. And we don't want that. We want that to be at the bottom so that when we open this one, when you open the envelope and look inside, it's all nice and clean, all just the one paper. So you put them all together at the same, with the bottom at the bottom. Okay, so then what you do is you just cut a fine line. It could be like, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch, something like that. You make sure they're all pretty much all the same. You cut the same amount of paper from each of them. So I'm going to make 5 here. I might have goofed a little bit on this one. Okay, now what you do, again, you put them all so that you see the bottom down there. And also what I suggest is you have all the flaps facing you like here. You don't want to have them like this. You want them like this. That's because when you decide to punch little notch here, half circle, if you have measured them all the same and then as you work with them you add inversed some, then if your half circle was not exactly in the center, then your little circles will be off a little bit because they're not all the same. So you have to always have the bottom down and then also facing you. Okay, and every time you cut something on here or you glue something, always check if you have the opening on the top. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the center of my envelope. So this is center here. And what I do, once I've done the first mark, what I do, I take all my envelopes, I kind of make a fan with them, then I make sure they're all nice and even here, and I just draw a line here. There's one missing here. I draw a line and then I have measured all of them in like 2 seconds. So that's very important that you get them all nice in a line. So here I'm going to do a half circle. So I could use this punch here, which is a 1-inch punch, but when they're big like this, I don't like to have just a tiny little notch. I like to have a bigger notch. So either you use this, and if you do, I suggest you put some measurements on your punch. So what I did, because there's room here to draw, there's no room on this one to draw, so that's why I haven't done it. But you can draw this, make a little mark on the center top, and then you make a mark at the center on each side. That's for the deep half circle. And you can make a little mark higher. That's for the less deep circle. So I like to use the less deep circle. But here, because I want to have a larger half circle, and I don't have any room here to draw, so then I need to just punch the first one, really nice and centered. And then what I do is I use my pencil, and I'm going to draw every single one of them and then just punch where my mark is. So nice and aligned, you make the drawing like this. And then you make all of them so that you use always the same one, because if you punch this one and then use that one to do on the second, on the third, and then on fourth and fifth, if there's a little mistake, it'll add up. So you don't want that. So you want to always use the same one to measure your half circle. So I do them all at the same time, so that way I'm sure that I'm not using one that I have already punched. There. So then I can punch them all. I just follow the design and I punch them all. And you don't go like, you have to not see your line, because if you see your line, that means, let me check to see if what I'm saying is right. Yeah, you have to go right on the line, inside the line. Well, right on the line. Because when you draw with a pencil, you make a mark on the inside of the circle. So you need to really punch on the line, or even a little bit over the line, because your mark with your pencil, especially if your pencil is not sharp, it's going to be bigger. So then if you punch inside, it's going to be smaller half circle. So here, as you can see, they're pretty much all even. There's one here that is not right. I don't know what happened with that one. Well, I'll put it last one, and then it's going to be just a little off. So here I have all my circles. Okay, This one maybe I should have done a little bit deeper. This one here needs to be a little deeper. So let me check that for a second. There. I think they're all good now. Okay, so now you have your file, your envelopes. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the glue. Now we're doing the ones that are flat, not the ones that are molded like this. The ones that are all equal and all flat on the bottom. That makes something like this. Okay, you cannot put as much stuff in these that are glued all the way down because they cannot expand at the bottom. But the other ones I'm going to make after is going to be very different. So you put the glue here, you leave about an inch, and if you want you can measure or draw, especially if it's the first time you make them. Maybe we'll do here. Okay, you just draw where you're going to put your glue, because the thing is that they have to be pretty much all the same distance. Don't go all the way down. Maybe you can leave a little bit so it can expand a little bit. And if you have any marks that are on your envelope, just erase them, because after they're all glued together, it's impossible to erase them. You don't have any access. Okay, so then I'm going to do this, and then the other one is going to be pretty much the same width, like this, and then you put the glue all around that. You don't have to draw, you know that it's that way. But for the measurements, it's nice when they open and then you can see the expansion, that they're all finishing at the same distance away from the edges. So that's why I suggest you draw a line like this, and then you just know exactly where your glue is going to start. Usually I do it just without marking them, but I think it's much better if you mark them that way. So here you make sure you have all your envelopes again with the face here, so the fold that we've glued on here in front of you. Okay, so you just go like this, and you put the glue. It's not necessary to put inside, but I think it's a good thing. As long as you go really around, not too close, because you don't want to, when you glue them together and squish them and press them, you don't want it to smear too much, and then it's going to glue them shut here. You don't want that. But very important here and here. Okay, so I'm going to put another one on top. Make sure that it's nice and aligned on the top and the circle, the half circle. Very important. So I'm going to do the same here. And you can do as many as you want. But don't forget, if you have an interaction that you're using this a page that you're using this interaction, you have to allow some gusset. Or if it's in the cover, I often put them in the cover, because I think that the room it takes is just good for being in the cover, because then you have all that space already from the cover to the first interaction. See, you have all this here, so you have a lot of room here. And then if it's really thick, you have to calculate in your hinge to have this thickness before you start your first page. If it's really thick and the first page is right there, like I did here, you have to have a very flat interaction on your page. Okay, so I go on. So that's the way you do your file, with the even bottom and all the same size. If I would have wanted to make the one, you know, that's like this, all the same size, so that it's not cut, but it's like this, like the one I had shown you in this album, there you need to put the glue on the top here, and then when you get to, don't go all the way to the bottom, because it will be in here, so it's not good. You want to glue this here. So I put the glue on the one that I'm gluing on, like the second and the third, on the top here, and then when I get to the bottom, I put the glue on the bottom here. So like this way, so it's glued all the way here and to the bottom here. So you can do that many times. Okay, now the next one, well, I want to show you what it does after, because I was letting it dry. So when you open it, you have to make sure after you finish gluing them together, just open them and see if there's nothing that is glued together, because sometimes if it smears a little bit, it glues together. So if you don't want to tear anything because it's all dry, you want to do it before. And also check to see if your corners are well glued together, because if they're not, then you can see them split, and that's not nice. So you need to have that really clean like this. Okay, and you see that when I look inside, I don't see any seam here. But if I would have done them the other way, I don't know if you can see, but there's a seam here. You don't want to see that when you look inside your file. You want to see clean. So that's why you always have to have the fold that we've glued on the envelope facing you. Now these here, we have a different one here, so we're going to work on the one that has the moving bottom. So here I'm going to cut those again like I did just before, just a little bit. Or if you want to, if they're bigger envelopes like square and you want them rectangular, you just cut them the height that you want. So you can pick the height. You don't have to cut them thin. You make them the size that you want, as long as they're all the same size. You removed all the same amount of paper, so that they're all even. Okay, done that. Now I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that quick so that you don't have to wait too long. Center. Put them all facing me. All the top on the top, like the opening on the top, and the seam here facing me. Make a line for all of them as straight as you can. I do the first one. Try to center my line, my little mark there in the center, in the half circle. And I'm going to draw them all. If you go like this and like this on the edges, then you'll be certain to have them really nice and even, to cut them even. I didn't prepare those because I wanted you to see twice the same thing, so you get to see it better. Okay. Okay, now the difference when we do the file that is like this and that can move. See, I can move, and they contain much more than the other ones because the bottom is not glued all the way down. So you're going to do your same line here like this. You're going to put the glue all around there, and then you're stopping like here. Earlier we stopped here, or you can go all the way down, but this one I can even go this much, like an inch here, an inch and a quarter here. Doesn't matter if it's not straight because we don't get to see that. As long as those lines here are straight, that's all that counts. So I'm going to do that like this, like I did for the mark. So this is where my glue is starting. See, much easier than measuring every single envelope with your ruler, which is taking too much time. Okay, so now I'm going to do this, same as I did earlier, but I'm not going all the way down. I'm leaving more space. Okay, I'm going to do that one on top. I have to erase this before it's done. And make sure it's all nice and even on the top, half circle. And then I do the same here. I follow my line. I go not all the way down. And I put another one on top. And you keep going like that. They're all nice and even, because when you go back it's too late, they're already glued together. Especially with craft paper or base paper, whatever it is, it tears. If you want to undo it, you just glued it on and already tears when you undo it. And there you go. So that's my last one, as even as I can. So when it's dry, then what you do is you open it. It's the same on the top here as the one we had just made, but if you can check this one here, see how much it expands? It's because we haven't glued the bottom together. So that way you can put much more stuff in there, and then it can expand like this. Let me put my hands in here. See? So that's what it does. Compared to this one, I left a little bit because it can hold more than just the 1 or 2 photos, but really little. As you can see, it doesn't expand much, just a little bit. So that was my tutorial. So if you want to know how to make this one, this summer I'll be making a tutorial. And yeah, so that's the different way. Other than that, if you want to see other tutorials how to make files, like put in the book the whole page, just ask me, or I can put a link of one of the tutorials I have made in English that has the whole file page finished. Okay, so thank you for watching, and if you like this, if this video has helped you on any project you want to do in the future, you can click on that thumbs up button, and you can subscribe to my channel too. And also what you can do is you could click on that little share button there, and then you can share it to the social medias, and then all your friends will get to learn how to do scrapbooking. Maybe we never know, they might have a new passion just created, and you can have friends do scrapbooking with you. That's a good thing. I wish I had friends just next door to do scrapbooking with me. Maybe someday, hopefully. So thank you for watching, and until next time, well, happy scrapping. Bye bye.